What's going on, guys? Unofficial Star Wars here. Hope you're all doing well. And in today's video, we have a Book of Boba Fett news update here for what we could possibly expect of not only in season 1 of the show, but also future seasons of this overall show. So without further ado, let's just jump right on into it. As Book of Boba Fett is being now one of the most ambitious shows of 2021, at least in the Star Wars community as of right now, and partaking in on what we have been calling quote-unquote the Mandalorian universe. Here's what Temerua Morrison himself, who does portray not only Boba Fett in The Mandalorian, but also Jango Fett in the earlier prequel films as well, had to exactly say here for what we could possibly expect here for future seasons of the Book of Boba Fett, and furthermore a season 2 of the show in a recent interview, saying, and I do quote, "As of right now, no season 2 of the show has been discussed with Lucasfilm, Disney, or Star Wars, etc., etc." Kind of end quote right there, pretty much. But that's, summing it up, that's pretty much what Temerua Morrison himself had to say as of right now. So kind of with the overall initial news there out of the way, moving into some of my thoughts and opinions here for what we could possibly exactly expect, not only for season 1 of the show, but also future seasons of this overall show, partaking in if they're actually plausible or even possible. Of course, one thing out right off the bat, we're going to have to kind of see exactly what's going to happen and go down in season 1 of this overall show, and not only with the storyline and how, characters develop and how the overall show is ending and how it actually connects to the other shows in the Mandalorian universe here with Mandalorian season 3 and also season 2 of the Mandalorian, the Ahsoka Tano show, Rangers of the New Republic, and etc., etc. That is the case of Lucasfilm and Disney wanting to add on more shows. But another thing I really think that's going to kind of define the whole idea of having a season 2, season 3, and etc., etc. of the Book of Boba Fett would be the overall case on how the Star Wars community and how fans exactly react to this overall show. That being said, to kind of sum that up in some terms there, initially what I'm saying here is pretty much basing off of how the fans, I guess, are going to initially react to a season 1 of the Book of Boba Fett, which so far has been really great and really outstanding, not even seeing pretty much like any content of the overall show, actually, bare minimum at that. It's really going to live up to what the fans think about the show, and at that, if the fans are going to be wanting a season 2, season 3, etc., etc. of, the Book of Boba Fett. That's one whole idea and the spectrum of things, and then there's also the whole other idea of just Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, whoever else is over there working on Lucasfilm and Disney in this overall universe of the Mandalorian universe. They just don't care. They really don't care, and they'll do whatever they want. If the fans don't like it, they're still going to do it because they have a story to tell. They want to tell a story. And even at that, just seeing how, fans reacted to the Mandalorian Season 1, Mandalorian Season 2, and at that, other, Star Wars shows that have been recently announced, like the Ahsoka show and Rangers of the New Republic, and the Book of Boba Fett itself in those terms at that, there is still a huge chance and a huge possibility, and furthermore, a huge part of this Star Wars fandom, Star Wars community, Star Wars fans that are regardless going to be watching the show, regardless. Like, it's just going to be a chore. It's just they have to. It's in their programming at that. Now, taking an example here from the DC universe, I mean absolutely no hate intended to you DC fans if you exist and if you're out there at that. For the overall Flash show, we look at that show and how it began initially with season 1, season 2, season 3, etc., etc. Of course, now they're all the way up to a season 7 of the show, I do believe here now, and just seeing how it went. A lot of fans absolutely loved season 1 to like season 3, I think, maybe season 4. Now myself, I'm not really a huge DC fan out there to really begin with. I really didn't watch too much of the overall Flash show, but just seeing how things progressively got kind of worse and worse, and what a lot of overall people and fans really thought about the overall Flash show, it just got worse and worse and started to degrade, and just not many people liked it at that. But that's not stopping DC and Warner Brothers. They're still over here making more content and new seasons for this show overall tomorrow. Now, as of right now, and I know this isn't, a DC channel here or anything like that, but as of right now, I'm not completely sure. I don't think that there's a season 8 actually confirmed or anything for the Flash show, but it's just taking in terms of, things really started going downhill around season 4, maybe season 5, and yet they still continue to go all the way up to a season 7 of the show. So all things kind of considered, and I know it's a completely different channel, or not a completely different channel, I don't have a DC channel at that. I know it's a completely different spectrum of things and a completely different company at that compared to Disney on how they actually do things and run things at that. They don't care what their stuff exactly looks like. And again, no hate intended to DC and Warner Brothers and all of you DC fans out there, if you're a thing out there, of course. I'm just saying that there's a pretty decent and good chance out there, no matter what us fans actually think about, these shows exactly, they're still going to hopefully do more in future seasons of the show, because there's always going to be that small community of you Star Wars fans out there that are watching and want to hear the story exactly. And furthermore, there's those storytellers, those amazing storytellers out there, and I know that there's more faces behind the scenes rather than just Jon Favreau or, Dave Filoni out there, and more people that have creative interests and creative ability and all of that actually have stories to tell and want to tell these stories, of course. So there's really just nothing that's going to be getting in their ways at that, and I think that they're going to just do it regardless what people really think, because there's always going to be some sort of, fandom or mini fandom in that group of fans that regardless just like it and want to watch it and want more. Now with that's kind of thinking outside of the box in some terms, I guess. Now thinking rather inside the box with Disney and Star Wars itself, taking a look at more or less specifically Star Wars Resistance and how that show exactly turned out. Now, to be 110% completely honest with all of you fellow Star Wars fans out there, I myself never actually watched Star Wars Visions all the way through, yet alone a single episode. I really just never gave it a chance. So all in all, I can't exactly completely 100% judge it, and I am just kind of speaking, out of terms here. Probably neither can any of you, because I doubt there's a huge majority of you guys that just simply don't like it because it's, quote-unquote childish. But then again, there's also that whole idea that maybe you haven't actually tried it out. Same thing applies for me, so I'm not really going to speak on how the show exactly is or if I liked it or not. Now, my whole understanding exactly behind it is that they very well could have a season, 3, 4, 5, all the way leading up to the events of The Force Awakens. Now, to be also 110% honest with you guys, seeing that I actually haven't seen Star Wars Resistance, I don't actually know how it ends at that, so it may well actually lead all the way up to the events of The Force Awakens, but at that, they could even, I think, go furthermore into that in depth, kind of almost what we did there with Season 7 of Star Wars The Clone Wars, it kind of, crossing over and taking place at the same exact time as Revenge of the Sith did. They very well could do the same exact thing. Anyway, what I'm trying to exactly get out here is, the point is, the idea of the show not exactly performing well with having a lot of Star Wars fans actually watch it and actually, like it at that, they just decided to quit on it, for the time being as of right now. That's not saying that they definitely will or will not, bring it back at that if fans all of a sudden decide they kind of like it. Same principle almost kind of goes for Star Wars Rebels at that, but I do believe the whole idea behind its cancellation of a season 5 of that show, that's something I do actually want to talk about in a separate video, because I myself have actually recently began watching Star Wars Rebels, and I absolutely love the show. Highly recommend it, but there was actually presumably supposed to be a season 5 of the show. It was just simply canceled, and not because fans didn't like it, it's just because they didn't have enough people to exactly work on the show. Now, as far as I see any of that actually going for any really shows at that for the Mandalorian universe at that, I just don't think it's exactly going to be a problem. I mean, it's Disney, guys. We're looking at Disney, and yes, I do know that Star Wars Rebels was, under Disney at the time when it was actually coming out. It was owned by Disney. Star Wars was owned by Disney in 2014 when Star Wars Rebels was coming out, of course. But at that time, I feel like Star Wars being owned by Disney wasn't as big as a thing. It was just kind of like a smaller thing, almost kind of like when George Lucas was owning it. So really, with all of this in mind, and kind of recapping back to the beginning here, circling around back to the beginning of what we exactly started here with Temerua Morrison speaking on the whole matter of a season 2, season 3, etc., actually implying and happening here for the Book of Boba Fett, and also kind of implying of exactly what Disney is most recently doing with its brand new Marvel, I guess, cinematic universe there with its actors. Originally, they had these really big contracts, I guess, for all the big actors, Chris Evans, who was Captain America, and, Thor, and, Tony Stark, and all of them. They apparently had these really long contracts for 10 plus years to pretty much sign on and, appear in these movies. That's what those contracts exactly were, and that was exactly to kick off this Marvel Cinematic Universe. And as we already do know, Star Wars is a much more well-known thing in those terms as well. But anyway, the point being, the brand new thing here that Disney is doing with Marvel is apparently that they're not having their actors sign on for these year-long contracts that are 5, 10 plus years, or in other terms, what was more recent in those terms of having Marvel do these contracts was with having them do 3 movies, and that would be guaranteed. Now, they're not actually doing that. Now it's just kind of, hey, we need you for a movie type of thing, come on in. And that's what Marvel's doing. I know this isn't a Marvel page, of course. I do have a Marvel page if you do guys want to actually check that out. Unofficial Marvel, of course. Point being is, I don't think that Star Wars or Lucasfilm is going to ever really consider actually signing on any of its actors at any point. I think that's definitely something that they're going to be doing, with maybe trilogies and movies. But as far as Star Wars shows go, I just don't really see that as a thing there, especially what happened with Gina Carano and Cara Dune and that whole incident. Of course, they did have contracts already before, but as of, as far as you're guaranteed to be in this many seasons of this show for, I guess, quote-unquote, the Mandalorian universe, as far as any of that goes, it just doesn't really seem very likely, and that is something I do kind of want to cover in a whole separate video, as I've already dragged this video on long enough. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Thanks so much for watching. Let us know all of your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section down below. I love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions on what you possibly expect here for future seasons of the Book of Boba Fett, and rather more the Mandalorian universe. Let us know in the comment section down below. Leave a like on the video if you did enjoy it, as it really does help the channel, and check our Instagram on Official Star Wars for more Star Wars related content. Guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. May the Force be with you always. Peace out.